Tech Talks Daily podcast, where today I'm live in Chicago at Sitecore's Symposium event. And I can be found wandering the show floors here, and I must admit I am attracted to digital transformation stories in industries that you might not automatically associate with technology. So today I've asked Jen Sutherland and Ken Zenger from the American Dental Association onto the podcast and discuss a little bit about how they're modernising the way the team worked and interacted with this digital hub, while placing the member experience at the centre of every decision. For me, their story has everything from technology to using technology to transform the customer experience. So buckle up and hold on tight, because I'm going to beam your ears all the way to Chicago and directly onto the show floor at Symposium, where you can join me, Jen and Ken in conversation today. A massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jen Sutherland, and I'm the Senior Director of Digital Transformation at the American Dental Association. Big title, break that down. It's leading the content strategy for the association, as well as the user experience design and search strategy for the association.
And I'm Ken Zenger. I'm the Senior Director of Digital Member Experience and Agile Delivery. I work in the IT department. We kind of manage all of the projects, all of the front-facing projects like the media projects, the websites, the apps. We have a team of developers, so I kind of lead that area.
Before we started recording today, I was saying this is my first symposium. I suspect it's not the first for you. So how would you describe your symposium and your experience so far with people that are listening all over the world to us today? And what can we expect, do you think?
We always get great ideas when we come to the symposium. It really is a way to kind of energize us a bit. It's like we take the team, we come here and we have them go out and visit the different booths, go to the different talks, and kind of come back with ideas. Every single time we've gone, we've come back with new approaches, new ideas for our work that we're doing. So I think it's great. There's a lot of energy here, and I'm glad that we're back in person.
And we get to really talk to our peers as well. We kind of live in our own technical bubbles in our day-to-day work. So getting to meet other people who are doing what we do is so important. You know, the last symposium, we met the team from Mayo Clinic who was facing the same challenge we were staring down and redesigning our content hubs. And we also walked away with some partners that ended up being our development partners for the new website that we launched a year ago.
Now, on this Daily Tech podcast, I'm passionate about getting people thinking about industries that they don't associate with technology. So to set the scene for today's conversation, can you tell me more about the impacts technology is having and the rise of digital experiences are having on the American Dental Association? Because you wouldn't automatically put the two together, would you? Or you probably would, but people listening might not.
Yeah, well, I would say that we have over 160,000 members, and we need to communicate with them. And so our new kind of vision is to take the ADA and put it in the palm of their hand. So we're really trying to reach out to them. We're trying to connect with them in new ways. We're trying to make sure that they're able to use Zoom conference calls. They're able to do online CE. So there is a lot of technology to keep their credits going, to keep their credentials up, and for communicating. So a lot happens in the dental world. For instance, like when we were dealing with COVID, we had to make sure that we had information quickly that we could distribute to the network of dentists, and we did that all through technology.
At the end of the day, the American Dental Association, every company is really just a technology company. We can't get any messages out to our audience without the technology that it sits on top of. So it's making sure that we can deliver it in a way that our dentist members can see it, but that it's going to be engaging when they do receive those messages.
Excellent, thank you. And can you tell me a little bit more about how you refreshed your member digital hub and how that solution was not just about modernising the technology? There was much more to it than that, wasn't there? Because I always say on this podcast that technology works best when it brings people together. It's a bit of a cheesy line, but I think it is, and it's not just about the big tech projects, is it?
Yeah, the technology might have been the easy part.
Yeah.
You know, that like there's a predictable path that you walk down on the technology side to build this new website. But it was really the human change management at the organizational level that was transformative for, you know, how we're building content today, how we think about content, breaking apart silos within the organization and really turning things around to put our dentist members first rather than the structure of the organization. So it was a transformation in how we work, moving to fully agile methodology, both on the technical side, which they were kind of ahead of us, as well as on the content side, to make sure that we can address the needs of our customers in a much more rapid fashion.
I would agree. It really was a journey. If you look at our old website and our new content hub, I guess you could call it, it's like night and day. We had over 28,000 URLs on the last website. It was large, it was unwieldy, it was difficult to maintain, it was very customized, and so we really had our kind of hands full with coming up with a new approach to this. And so it wasn't just like building a new website. We really had to get back to the basics and figure out how are we going to manage this moving forward, and how are we going to look in the mirror and go, part of the reason this is so hard to manage is because we did this to ourselves. And so we need to figure out how to better do this. And it all comes down to having a sound strategy and putting in repeatable processes that you can then you can repeat, you can improve, and you can kind of look for continuous improvement through time. Because I really believe that if you don't have a process that's repeatable, you really are kind of always in this reactive mode. And what I really want is for us to be in a proactive mode, so that we're kind of setting the stage, setting the strategy, because that's really how we can change and how we can make our site better.
And that cultural change is such a huge thing. Did you face any resistance at all?
All the time.
All the time. And it really was a concerted effort of over about 18 months of education of the staff, kind of letting them know in advance, we're going to cut your content. We are going to do this with strategy and analytics and member need behind us, but we have to do this in order to make our content accessible for our members so that they can find what they're looking for, because in 22,000 web pages, they're not finding what they need. So cutting 90% of that content, actually helped our members engage with the website and the content much more deeply. So it really was that slow educational process, meeting with every stakeholder in the organization, bringing them along in the process and making them our partners, not just our clients internally, so that they had shared understanding, but also shared ownership, so that we had the same goal in mind at the end. And by the end, the organization really is transformed, and the teams are working together so smoothly and having a good time doing it too. That was a big goal of Ken and I's as well, is that we want the work to be sustainable and enjoyable and fun. And the team is doing that together.
I would say, and a key point of what she mentioned about reducing 90% of the content. Think about that, 90% of the website we got rid of. Our traffic increased, our analytics increased, our website's easier to maintain, we're more focused on the content that the users want, and it's just a better situation for the content creators, the technical team, and the visitors to the site.
So less is more, right?
Less is more.
It truly is.
So what are your biggest challenges in modernising the way a team worked and interacted with both the hub and each other? Because I suspect there's a few war stories along the way too, right?
Yeah, I would say modernizing was pretty challenging. We're looking at modernizing the content side. We're talking about modernizing the processes and moving to an agile process. We're talking about modernizing the technology and the infrastructure. So we were modernizing everything, and we were doing it all at once, so it was really challenging. So the technology part was the easiest, because we're like, okay, we need to build this new box, and we need to put DevOps, and we need to make it something that is evergreen, that we can always update. We get that process down, and then that's fine. That's ready to go. But now we have to change the way that we work, and we were really heavily waterfall forever at the ADA. Like, people wanted to have reports, they wanted to have a beginning, middle, and end of a project, and we're like, we're going to do this different. And they're all like, what are you talking about doing this different? And we're like, we're going to do this iteratively, we're going to do it in Agile, we're going to have multiple releases. And so Jen and I had to go around and kind of sell this concept to the organization. The leaders bought in. The leaders want to be Agile. They're reading Harvard Business Review. Agile is kind of taking the world by storm. But the people that are working on this website and the content creators, and we have a lot of content creators, They were not so bought into this because they are very passionate about what they write. And so they're very passionate about what they're creating. And we're telling them that we're going to change the way that we're working. We're going to reduce the amount of content you're going to have on the website, but at the end, it's going to be a win. So we had a lot of changing people's minds, changing the way we work, and kind of looking at things differently.
Yeah. And was there a fear of people losing their jobs because there's less content and less creation? They can say, I can see what's happening here, we're being edged out. I'm not saying that did happen, but was that a big concern?
There was a fear of the sort of loss of control and ownership as we were moving to this sort of centralized model that, the technology team is providing this foundation and support for us, but we were also changing and moving towards centralizing the operations of maintaining the website too. So all of these contributors of content across the website were also in the back end of the content management system, Sitecore, to update their 1 or 2 pages, which is insane because Sitecore is a really technical product that can do some amazing things, but your average user who's going to spend 5% of their time in it doesn't know all of the things that Sitecore can do. So starting to move away from that fragmented model into a unified model, it did make people feel really unsettled, unsure. They weren't sure at the beginning if they wanted to trust our teams to kind of take the lead and hold their hand on it. But because we had this huge content migration process in the midst of the technology build, where we were working hand in hand with them to determine which pieces of content were going onto the new site, unifying it so that every single thing related to one topic, say dental amalgam, lives in one space on the website rather than across 7 different little tiny silos within the whole system. They were brought along in that process and start to understand how we're changing how we work in Agile, and also starting to trust our team that we were bringing them better ideas on how to display their content so that it could be more discoverable by the members. So by the time we got to launch, I think we had kind of that cultural transformation and people really bought into working in this new way. And now it's the maintaining of that standard of we're continuing to work in this way. We're reminding folks that, come to our teams with your content strategy questions, with your business challenges, and we're going to solve those problems together in an agile fashion. It's not, driven by specifically just the business unit. It's through a collective process using agile.
Yeah, and I find this is kind of our next challenge is to keep this going, keep the momentum going, because the ADA is very focused on projects. Like, let's have a new project, let's roll this out. It's like, now we have the challenge of operationalizing this and continuing the momentum and continuing the growth without the excitement of a brand new project with a big website launch. So we've got to make sure that people stay focused, we keep operations moving forward, and we kind of provide the resources to the site that it needs.
And I'm curious, as you streamlined that content, were there any concerns around SEO? Because I know traditionally it's all about packing lots and lots of pages with lots of keywords, but I think that world is changing. But how did you address that? So
we've got a brilliant SEO team at the ADA, and we spent an inordinate amount of time protecting the SEO of the new sites. We put in a formal taxonomy, tagging, and metadata structure for the whole new site. Our old site, only 20% of the content had been properly tagged, which is a detriment to Google finding you and as a credible source in the first place. So putting in that content structure really helped. We had an intense redirect strategy to make sure that all of these old URLs that we were sunsetting were going to be redirected to a logical place of a one-to-one redirect. A lot of time goes into that. But at the end of the day, 9 months later after, launch, we've got 1,500 URLs in the top 50 on Google that we did not have before. So we created not only the structure, but also centers of excellence within our content where we had the most value and the most volume of content, serving those up in topic pages so that Google can clearly see this is an area where the ADA has credibility and authority, so that Google can start to rank that content higher and make it more discoverable for any, dental professional or consumer who's looking for information on oral health.
Yeah, and I would say this was a new finding to me as well, because I also thought, like, more content, this is better on Google. The challenge we had is we have so much content. Like, we are great at creating content. We can create content, no problem. We had so much content that it became a challenge for our members to find the newer content, because we had older content out there that had more authority because it was out there and it was outranking the new content on Google. So if you're thinking about something with science or medicine or in the dental industry, it's like if things change and like the reports or studies change and you have outdated information that's like trumping it out on the web, it's like this is kind of a potentially dangerous situation because you're putting outdated information out that's easier to find, that Google can find. So we really needed to take a step and kind of understand that and kind of start to really consider content like life cycles and how the content life cycle plays into managing the site long term.
And I think we all accept that digital transformation is a journey rather than a destination. But to thrive in a new era, companies need to be able to operate in a state of almost always on innovation and adapt to the ever-evolving landscape. So I've got to ask, what's next for you? Where do you go from here?
So we're already on the road to where we're going next, which is really enabling that mobile experience for the member. So we've built a beautiful website that looks amazing on your phone and is fully discoverable via Google. But we also want to provide that, custom app experience for our members that they can take care of some of these membership tasks of joining the ADA, signing up for continuing education, attending an event. They can do this on a mobile app that's, fully secure, but also connect with their peers. So providing things like member-to-member chat or some career resources to help, especially graduating dentists, think about where they want to take their career, because there are new opportunities in the dental career arena that there weren't 20 years ago. So we're really looking at what does that mobile experience need to be to provide a personal touch point, a personalized experience for the ADA.
And this is where I kind of realized that I don't build or manage websites anymore. It's really about the experience, because this is where Sitecore is going to play a key role. Because, for instance, on the new mobile app that we just launched, a lot of the content that you'll find on that website or on that mobile app is being fed from Sitecore. So this is where I'm starting to really think Sitecore is like a foundational hub for distributing the articles and content to the different systems that we need. We have several mobile apps that are going to be consuming content from Sitecore. We have several web apps that are out there. There are specific web apps that are performing specific functions that are also going to be receiving content from Sitecore. We also have a network of over 160 state and local websites that we're going to start to feed content over. So Sitecore becomes kind of the foundation, the hub, the middle area of the entire network, and we set the system up so that the content team can easily add content and distribute it to whatever channel that they need to.
And I'm curious, there's going to be people here at Symposium watching your keynote today. They're going to be looking up to you thinking, this is exactly what we need to do. There'll be people listening to this podcast thinking the same. For those people that are just about to set out, what are the biggest lessons that you've learned along the way, or any advice that you would offer?
Sure. We were sitting in these seats 3 years ago thinking that we wanted to be those people up on stage, and it took us 3 years to get there. So really taking the time to understand your customers' needs first. We did a lot of in-depth interviews with our members, looking at our data and analytics, and really taking the time to focus on the strategy and what the business needs first. And then looking at what is the technology that you need, what is the behavior change, the organizational change, and content strategy that's needed to kind of deliver on that. But it's been 3 years of getting there. So, and getting your executive team really on board with this journey, that it's got a pace to it, and we're all working towards the same goal, but it's not something we're going to get done in a year. It's going to be an evolving digital experience.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The biggest thing is that we really had to keep fighting for the time. Like with the executives, they're like, when are we launching? When are we launching? So we really needed to have them understand that if we're going to launch this quickly, we're going to just reinvent what we already have. We really needed the time to do the strategy, to kind of think through the content, the experience, and the technology, so we would have these three pillars kind of working cohesively and kind of setting the foundation for us to move forward. So the number of times that Jen and I had to kind of discuss timelines and when we potentially could launch and what we're doing now, it was like, it was tiring, but we kind of plowed through, we got the site launch, and it's really exciting now because we see how successful this site is and how successful the team's been.
And with the really strong foundation that we set with Sitecore and with a development partner like Avanade, we're really set up for the future, that we're not going to have to re-architect this site every 5 years, investing in the Sitecore technology now and really setting ourselves up to make the content hub extensible to any channel that we need in the future, is really going to be transformational for the organization and reduce our maintenance load and reduce the funding that we're going to need going forward, so that we can just keep incrementally evolving it over time without needing to start from scratch all over again in just a few years.
Well, as you said, it's such a special symposium this year because we're all back in person. And I think one of the best things about it is meeting people on the show floor and soaking up so many different insights. But what's next for you guys here? What are you going to be most looking forward to seeing while you're here?
At the symposium, I'm really interested in going to some of the events for personalization. I want to see more about the headless movement that they have here, and so I really want to talk to people to find out how they're doing this, how are they distributing content, because that's where we need to be. We need to be distributing content across multiple systems and make this like omni-channel kind of approach towards content. And then we also need to really start to integrate machine learning and AI. So I really want to understand what people are doing with that, what kind of analytics they're grabbing, how they're transferring the analytics into machine learning, and then how they're bringing that back into the system.
And I'll be looking ahead to, all of these sessions that we're seeing on the composable future with Sitecore. So from the content side, how do we take this beautiful content hub that we've now built with Sitecore and start to advance it and start to bring in some of those personalization features Ken was speaking about, but starting to learn again from our peers. We're at a new point. And so now I'm going to be looking for our peers in the speakers and in the sessions that are 2 or 3 steps ahead of us, and talk to them about what their advancement has been towards where they are now. It's always a journey of getting to the next piece.
Well, I've loved chatting with you both today, but now it's time to have a bit of fun with you. And I always ask my guests at the end of every episode is, can you leave us with a song that has inspired you that we can add to our Spotify playlist, or a book that we can add to our Amazon wish list? Either's fine by me. All I'm going to ask is what you're going to choose and leave us with, and why.
I'm going to choose Chris Stapleton's song, Nashville. This is a great song, and if you listen to this song, it really is kind of transitional about Chris Stapleton as a person and an artist, and it's about change and growth. It really doesn't have much to do about the city of Nashville. So it's very inspirational to me.
Great choice. I'll add that straight to the Spotify playlist. So no pressure on you now, but...
Well, I'm going to choose one of my very favorite songs by Carbon Leaf, an Americana folk type band out of Virginia, called What About Everything? And the whole frame of the question is about curiosity. And so asking questions about the different pieces of our lives and what could be different and what could be better. They're also playing in Chicago tomorrow night. So if it's free Wednesday night, stop on by. But great one to just think about all the ways that we can imagine our lives to, go to a different place.
And I think that word curiosity is so important, isn't it? But obviously there's a busy show floor out there, and I know you're both very busy. So just a big thank you for taking the time to stop by and talk to me today.
All right.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thanks so much, Neil. Love the podcast.
What a great story. And there were so many big takeaways for me about thinking differently, especially around content and how less is more. Because reducing content doesn't damage SEO. It actually improves it, because let's be honest, nobody wants out-of-date information outranking the up-to-date information on your website. But if anything we spoke about today resonated with you, please contact me now. Share with me your stories, your experiences, and if you want, you can even come on here and share your story. And you can do that by simply emailing me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, just @Neil C. Hughes. We'll keep this conversation going. But right now, it's time for me to find another guest. So I'm going to report back shortly as I try and grab somebody else off the show floor. But as always, a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.